just readjust myself. Today I'm going to do part 2 of my life's challenges. Now, it's not a makeup video. In fact, I've got tinted moisturiser on, I've got a bit of blush, mascara, eyebrows, lip gloss. That's it. Just something simple. So today I want to talk to you about one of my biggest challenges, and that was raising both my children, both of which had disabilities. Erica, as you would have seen in the part 1, which I'll put a link up the top, that explains Erica. Now the next challenge is Colin. Now, I carried Colin full term. In fact, he was born at 40 weeks. He weighed 8 pound 2, or whatever that is in kilos, 3 something kilos. He was 21 inches long, so he was quite a healthy baby. He had black eyes. He has just normal brown eyes now, but he had black eyes when he was born. And Jeffrey was there for the birth. When I was, don't mind silences, it just means I'm trying to put things in order in my mind. After 29 hours of labour, he was born. He was born on Sunday night at 8:10 on the 4th of March. So both my babies were born, well, Eric was a public holiday and Colin was a Sunday, so, you know, let's not interrupt the working week. So Jeffrey didn't know what to do, so he just sat in the chair in the delivery room watching TV, because he didn't know whether he should hold my hand or what he should do. So he just sat in the chair, he had a bit of a rest. And at this stage, when Colin was born, Erica was by birth 10 months old, but because they had to adjust her age, because she was 12 weeks premature, they had to adjust her age by 3 months. So Erica's progress was, at 10 months, she was only 7 months old when Colin was born. So I'm there. I believe Jeffrey's parents were looking after Erica at home. Fortunately, Erica wasn't breastfed. I couldn't breastfeed Erica, so she was on formula. So when Colin was born, eventually, when the obstetrician came in to have a check, Colin was facing the wrong way, so they had to turn him. And to this day, I still call them salad spoons. He turned Colin. Oh, was that so painful? So he turned Colin. Water never broke, that I'm aware of. So eventually Colin was born, and I had an epidural for Colin. The pain was just too much, and I'd been there for so long, and the pains were 3 minutes apart for quite some time. Can't remember the hours, but it was quite some time. So eventually Colin was born, and the first thing, Jeffrey was up holding my hand, and then the midwife said, "Would you like to see your son being born?" And what did Jeffrey do? He said, "Yes." left me and went down and watched Colin being born. I then had a nurse on one side of me holding my hand. Because of the epidural, I had no pain. And she said, when you get the next contraction, push. Now, Erica was an emergency caesarean. I had no idea what a contraction felt like. So I said, you'll have to tell me because I can't feel. She said, okay, I can tell you. So she put her hand on my stomach and said, okay, push now. So it's 3 pushes, Colin's out. When he was born, I can't remember whether Jeffrey cut the cord. I don't think he did. The midwife said to Jeffrey, would you like to hold your son? He took one look at Colin and went, oh no, because Colin was covered in all the cream and whatever it is they're covered with. He said, oh no. And they said to me, would you like to hold him? I don't like mess. So I said, okay. So they laid Colin on top of me and all I was thinking was, ew, 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 ew. Not because of, I didn't want to hold my son, it was just, could you clean him first? Eventually they took him away and cleaned him up and took him off to the nursery. Put me up in the ward. And they said, oh, you can have a good sleep now, we'll look after him. No. He was born at 8:10. At midnight they came and said, you have to come and feed your baby. And I said, I can't walk. They said, we'll get you a wheelchair. They got me a wheelchair, took me in. I had milk. I had enough milk for everyone in the nursery, I'm sure. But Colin didn't want to feed. He was what they call a lazy feeder. An hour and a half I spent trying to feed him. He just wasn't interested. So I decided, well, I couldn't spend an hour and a half every 3 hours because I had Erica to look after as well. She was on formula, so it was just as easy to put them both on formula. So I did. Obstetrician was not happy. Too bad. They brought him home and both my kids used to projectile vomit. So, and for those of you who don't know, projectile vomit is they feed and next minute the feed is on the wall on the other side of the room. Sort of like exorcist thing. So they suggested that I try soy milk. Maybe he couldn't handle the baby formula. Yeah, no. Not only did he projectile vomit, but it also stank. Because if you know anything about soy milk, it doesn't smell nice. Not if you don't like soy milk. So we went back onto normal formula again. And then what I did with both of them is I treated them like twins. Erica was, when she was in hospital, was so long, they had her feedings planned out. So she was 4, 6 and 10. No, 2, 6 and 10, every 4 hours. So every day of hers was 2, 6 and 10. Colin would be 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, because they said demand feed. So I did spend a lot of sleepless hours when the kids were babies. I will say though, when Jeffrey had a day off, he would do the night feeds for me so that I could have a rest. So there was only he and I. We couldn't rely, there was no family to rely on, no friends to say, look, we'll look after the kids, you two go out. No, there was none of that. It was just Jeffrey and I. We had to do it together. And we worked on the theory, if the kids couldn't go, we couldn't go. So that's the birth of Colin. But then later on, we found out that I took him to the doctor because he was just so restless. He wouldn't sit still. He couldn't do anything without it being full on. So I took him to the doctor, and I was talking to the doctor, and Colin was playing in the corner. And the doctor looked at him and he said, "He's got ADHD." And I said to him, "What's that?" He said, "It's attention, hyperactivity, AD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder." I went, "Nice. So how do we deal with this?" So they put him on Ritalin first, and that didn't help. And then they changed it over to Speed, I think. Whatever that one is, I can't remember what it's called. Put him on that, but then when he started school, the school wouldn't give him his lunchtime pill. They wouldn't call him up to the office or get him. They just let him go. So it was a constant, on his reports, constant, Colin needs to listen more. Colin needs to pay more attention. And it's because of the ADHD. Back then, it wasn't so well recognised. So I thought, well, this isn't working. So I tried him on a salicylic diet, and that didn't help. So I thought, right, if the brain is active, then the body's not active. So keep the brain active, give him things to do. So I used to do that. And when he was 3, he was able to read. When he misbehaved, we had a naughty corner, and I tried, "Go to your room." Well, that was a bit ridiculous. Where were his toys? In his room. So he didn't care. So then I took the toys out. "Now go to your room." Nah, it didn't help. So the best thing to do was put him in a boring place. So the boring place in that house was outside the linen cupboard. In between the linen cupboard, bathroom, wall, kitchen. So I used to get him to face the corner of the linen cupboard. Nothing there in the linen cupboard for him to play with or do anything with. There were no towels. What can you do? No toys. What can you do with towels? So that's where he used to sit. Then I started him counting, count to 10. And that was easy, okay? So count to 100 when he could count to 100, count to 100, okay? Then I made it harder. Okay, count to 100 by 5s. So he did that. Count to 100 by 2s, did that. And I used to get him to say it loud enough so I could hear. I mean, I was never used to sit him there and say count to 100 and wander off. No, I was there, I was listening. And the last one I did was count to 100 by 3s. He got to 99 and he stopped. I said, "I can't hear you." He said, "I can't go any further." I said, "Why not?" He said, "Because it goes to 102. That ended the counting. He got too wise. So the next thing I did is I got him, got him a PlayStation. PlayStation first came out, and I got him to play games on that, because with that it does require concentration. And I got him games like Mario Kart, Tekken 3, I think, was another one, Tetris, games that required him to think. Always with the knowledge that what he was playing was not real. It's not real life. That is just a game. So he started with that. We also used to watch cartoons together. I still like cartoons. But we would sit and watch cartoons together. And I remember one day we were watching, he would know, it's a computer game, a computer cartoon. And he started crying, and I said, "Why are you crying? It'll be on next week." He said, "No, it said the end." And he was correct. That was the end of that series. So while Erica went into the anime side, she liked watching anime cartoons, and I didn't. Jeffrey used to watch the animes with her. I used to like watching the technical side ones with Colin, cartoony ones. So that was that. And then one day he'd come home from school and he started running around. We had a kitchen table, and he was running around the kitchen table while I was cooking dinner. I said to him, "Colin, stop." I said, "Because, you know, he'll fall over." I was thinking he'll fall over or hurt himself or do something. He just kept going, round and round and round and round and round. And I said, "Colin, stop." Third time I grabbed him and I said, "Colin, stop." And it was like he woke up. He wasn't aware of what he was doing, and that was the ADHD. So with Erica, that's why we say I had the hare and the tortoise. Colin was the hare. It'd take off like a rocket. Going shopping with him was an education because I had to take both of them. And we were out shopping one day and he was playing up. Jeffrey was with us. And Jeffrey and Colin were going down the escalator in front of us, and Colin was playing up like he usually did. And he turned round to look at me, and I looked at him as if to say, "Who are you?" And he saw that look on my face. And he just turned around and he stopped immediately. Another time he was playing up and I leaned down and I said, "What would your mother say if she could see you now?" And he looked at me because we were older parents. I mean, I was 36 when I had Colin, so he would have been 5, maybe 6. So, you know, I would have been 41, 42, old enough to be his grandmother. So little things like that used to stop his behaviour. And he was always getting into trouble for you know, not paying attention. He did well in school. He got kicked out of his science class. Physics, I think. And because he pointed out to the teacher that whatever the teacher had written on the board was incorrect. And the teacher said, "That's what the book says." And Colin says, "No, it's still wrong." He said, "Will you come out here and show me?" So Colin went out and he showed him on the board what it was supposed to be, and the teacher looked and went, "I only taught you what the book said." But Colin, being Colin, always spoke up for himself. We got called into the high school, into the deputy principal's office one day. Jeffrey and I went. It was about Colin, of course. Colin and Erica didn't go to the same high schools. They started going to the same high school, but Erica had a major operation, and when it was time for her to go back to school, Colin said he didn't want her at his school. He didn't want to be known as Erica's brother. I understood that, so Erica went to a different high school. And we went up, as you do. We sat there. Must have been a good, I don't know, half an hour of listening to this deputy principal go blah, 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 Colin. And she said to Colin, what did you get for maths? Maths was always Colin's favourite subject. He is now a qualified accountant. He's got his bachelor's degree in accountancy. He said he got, and he told her, it was a high mark. She went, oh, but what about this? Another high mark. And I think she realised she'd made a big mistake. She just didn't like Colin. There was one time, funny story, Colin and his mates were out on the sports field and they were playing touch football. And someone kicked the ball. No, they were running with the ball. And they ran, I think it was Colin, ran straight into this deputy principal who was out on the sports field. She fell over, of course, knocked her shoes off. She got up. Oh dear, was she angry. You lot, my office. And as they were going, the sports teacher said, where are you boys going? And they said that this deputy principal had called them into her office. He said, what for? Because, you know, she was on the sports field and we were playing and ran into her. He said, I'll fix this. And he went and he told her that I'll come with you. They all went, this teacher as well, and said, I gave them permission to play on the sports oval. You shouldn't have been there. So they didn't get detention or anything else. But no, this deputy principal had it in for Colin. But my life with dealing with Colin's ADHD was one of a challenge. And the challenge was, well, rather than put him on the pills that, you know, if he was that sort, he could have taken to school and sold. But he didn't. I just decided, well, I'll do things. So when he was 14, things that are a trigger to, like caffeine is makes you a bit high, are the opposite with an ADHD person. So I thought, okay, I'll try him with coffee then. Yep, coffee worked. He became very calm. Once he went through, once he hit puberty, his attitudes changed. But he was a perfect gentleman. He became a perfect gentleman. He's now married, happily, I hope. No, he is. He's happily married. And he and his wife have their own life now. He obviously is working. He's just very settled. But the trial for me and the challenge for me was to raise Colin to be a respectable or respectful adult. So I survived that challenge. So that was challenge number 2. I must say too that Colin couldn't stand red. Anything red. He couldn't wear red. He couldn't, obviously no red drinks and certainly no Coca-Cola. But, sorry, I should say cola. But no. So I've become a very proud mother to 2 children. And just before I go, I just got to tell you this story. When they were about, would have been 9 and 10, 8 and 9, around that age, Jeffrey was working outside and he'd gone mad at Erica for something that she did. So she decided, right, I'm going to run away. She told Colin. Colin said, well, I'll come with you. So off they went. Jeffrey came in later. I didn't think anything. He was outside, I was inside. He said, where are the kids? I said, I don't know, I thought they were outside with you. He said, no, they're not. I went, dear, oh dear. Now, we lived on a main road between one town and another. So to get to the other town, which could lead to anywhere, either town could, that's where we lived. Panic, rang the police, so that they were aware. People went out looking for them, people in our town. And a lady came and she said, are you looking for Erica and Colin? And we said, yes. She said, I just saw them up near the tennis courts. Jeffrey got in his car, flew up there, got the kids, came home, and all I said to Erica was, oh, Erica, well, that was enough punishment. I didn't need to punish them for running away. All kids at some stage will say they're leaving home. But no, I did have a talk to them and told them the danger of doing what they did. And Colin said he just went with Erica to protect her. That was the funny story. My son went to protect his sister. Unbelievable. So there we have it. That's the challenge that I faced with raising two children who are 10 months apart in age, one that had ADHD and the other was cerebral palsy. Did I survive? I'm still here. So look out for part 3, which is me facing another of life's challenges. Thanks for watching.